Uh, Anywho, welcome to Movie the Podcast. That's right, Movie the Podcast. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms and MILFs out there.
That's right.
Happy to be here with you.
Shout out to Lisa Ann, everybody.
Yeah, shout out to Lisa Ann. Shout out to all the working ladies over. I don't know what constitutes MILF anymore. 26, it seems to be the cutoff age. The bar is very low.
Yeah, we've slid into like GILF territory now.
And the GILFs are 38. So like, what are we doing?
Funny. Yeah, in porn you go from barely legal to MILF in like it's like a 3-year span.
Dude, there's nothing more brutal than showing up at a home visit. And it's like, they live with their grandpa, and it's like, grandpa's like my age. This is brutal.
Yeah, right. They're just compressing these generations at X Hamster. Yeah. So anyway, we watched. It's remade to The Revenge, and we got to watch my pick, Jake Gyllenhaal's Roadhouse.
Excuse me, what is his name? Jake Gyllenhaal's.
Yeah, where he gets to play a feisty bouncer named
he's feisty.
Dalton.
Actually, I disagree with that. He is the least feisty bouncer ever. He is so even keel.
Well, it turns into Archer's terms of revengeance at the end. Yeah. Like when he becomes unlocked, like then it becomes a little dark.
Yeah.
Anywho. We watched Roadhouse, and I thought that isn't his name Dalton Castle in the first one, and this one he's
Dalton
like
Castle's a professional wrestler.
Oh,
I don't think
better.
Does Dalton have a first name in the original one?
I thought he did. I thought it was. Now I gotta look it up.
I'm pretty sure it's just Dalton.
It's James Dalton. Now this guy is like Edgewood Dalton or Elwood Dalton or something like that.
I'm pretty sure it's Edgewood.
Anyways, we'll talk about it.
My son is also named Edgewood.
It's Edgegoon Dalton.
Edgelord Dalton.
Yeah, this is I'm gonna go ahead and say it. This movie surprised me quite a bit, actually.
Oh yeah.
I went in with the lowest expectations, and it is not without its glaring flaws, but it's not unenjoyable.
Alec is not with us today. He's still with us, but he's not with us today.
Don't say it like that.
I had to find out like this.
Yeah. And he sent me his write-up, so.
Awesome. I mean, he gave us a little bit of it last week, because
he teased it. He teased it a little bit.
All right. So yeah, Roadhouse. What's this guy's the director? Is it Paul Greengrass? It's the Bourne guy, right?
Doug Liman.
Doug Liman, who's also a Bourne guy, correct? I think.
No. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, maybe, and Swingers. I think he directed Swingers.
Didn't Doug Liman?
No. I thought what's his name?
Doug Liman directed.
I thought he wrote it.
3.
John Favreau wrote it, but I don't think he directed it.
He did something with Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, he directed Edge of Tomorrow. He directed some other. Did he direct some Mission Impossible movie? Are you looking at his IMDb?
He directed The Bourne Identity, TJ. You're right.
The Bourne. I was right. Yeah.
And Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and that movie Jumper, which we always confuse with that other movie.
That movie Jumper sucks.
And he did he also directed The Butcher, The Chef, and The Swordsman, the Sassy Sixer film to Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
The fuck is The Butcher? What the hell is that? I never heard of that movie.
Oh, he also did Terry Tate Office Linebacker Sensitivity Training.
Oh, he did those commercials? That's pretty awesome.
He did direct Swingers.
He's one of
them.
Oh,
okay. All right, anyway.
Producer of Edge of Tomorrow.
So we'll get into that a little later, but what did y'all watch this week?
Nothing, TJ. Talk about your coffee table movie.
Huh? Okay. I watched one movie. I watched more of X-Men 97, by the way. I'll get into that briefly. It's beautiful. Like, it makes me feel like a kid, and it's really, really well made, and it makes me depressed because it's so well made. It's just like, when like Bart and Homer go to the Edison Museum because they got to put back Edison's stuff so they don't get found out or whatever. And then Like, the Bart's like, the museum's not open yet, and the dad smacks the kid. He's like, why can't you like Edison more? Like, watching X-Men 97, I want to smack everyone at Marvel and be like, why can't you put this kind of effort in the rest of your fucking projects?
Because everything should be animated. I think when it comes to comic book shit, I think that's the line now.
I mean, it's fucking perfect. It's like, not only, and you know what else I love about it? It's not only is it fucking perfect, but like it could have rested on its laurels and just been, just retread the stuff from the old cartoon and just be, the old cartoon with better animation. But it's not. Like it's the old cartoon and then they mix in like some of the best X-Men storylines of the last like 30 years. And it's really fucking clever, and I don't know, I love it.
You know what's funny? Going back,
everybody on the show needs to watch it.
We all love like '90s X-Men to an extent or another, but when you go back,
that's why I got into comics.
Claremont only did like the first 3 issues of that whatever when they split it off. The X-Men one.
X-Men, yeah, Jim Lee.
And I love Chris Claremont, but you go back and read that shit, and it is fucking tedious. Like it's so much worse.
Yeah.
Like
he's like to me, like he's always like he's like the comic book version of like J.R.R. Tolkien, where like he had a lot of great ideas, but like sometimes getting those ideas, like the way he wrote those ideas is like a little tedious is the word. You're right on that.
I'm glad I had nothing better to do then, because if you presented me that shit now, I'm like, I'm not fucking reading this. Nothing happens.
Oh yeah. But anyway, everybody watch X-Men 97. It is awesome, and there's only one more episode left, so it's very good. And I am very scared to find out whatever the creator did, because apparently this guy
he had OnlyFans. That was it.
Was
there more?
Apparently there's more. Because he had the OnlyFans the whole time, and they didn't have a problem with it. That was what everybody thought at first, because they found I literally think all that happened was he got fired. They found that he had an OnlyFans. They're like, well, this must have been it. But apparently he'd had that for years, and now people are speculating, it's probably something worse. And it's like, oh man, I hope it's just the OnlyFans, because that's fine. Who gives a shit? But this dude wrote all the first season. He wrote all of the second season already, and apparently was working on a third. So I don't know. But anyway, I watched this movie called The Coffee Table. It's I forget which country of origin it's from, Spanish speaking one. So Cafe Mesa or whatever. How would you say that in Spanish?
Pablo.
Pablo?
What are you trying to say in Spanish?
Pablo.
Coffee Table.
Oh, Mesa del Cafe.
It is Mesa. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not Tabla. Anyway, so this is a movie, like, I don't know, I'm never gonna learn my lesson, right? Like, so the last, like, 2 or 3 weeks, on my For You page on TikTok, I've gotten dozens of reviews of this movie, The Coffee Table. And the odd thing is, it's a movie that came out in, like, 2022. I know with foreign movies, sometimes, like, distribution is weird, so, sometimes it takes us a while to get stuff. But anyway, I kept seeing reviews for this movie, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's so horrific," and this is like one of the new, like, you're not going to be able to get through this movie, right? It's like the most graphically, most disturbing film ever made.
Like
it's the
Serbian film, like that sort of.
It's the new Serbian film. It's the new Human Centipede before it. It's the new, murder set pieces, whatever. It's a video nasty or whatever. And I will always have a morbid curiosity about those movies. Like, if somebody says, oh, this is like the most disgusting thing ever, I gotta watch it. I shouldn't, because all those movies are bad too. That's the thing. Like, I can't, maybe with the exception of, and it's not even an exception, because I can't endorse the movie because of the real life animal violence. But I was going to say Cannibal Holocaust, there's a good movie in that movie, but again, the real life animal murder, it's hard I can't defend that. It's disgusting and it has no place in movies. But anyway, I still am always morbidly curious to watch anything like that's supposed to be like disturbing. I like disturbing movies in general. So I had to watch it. And So I finally did, and just to be clear, people, when they were talking about this movie on TikTok, they wouldn't even tell you what happened in the movie. They're like, it's too gross to talk about on this app. Basically, like, if I tell you what's happening in this movie, then my account will be banned, right? So it's like, okay, all right, whatever. Spoiler alerts, a baby dies off screen, and that's
Thanks,
it.
Biden.
That's the whole fucking movie. And it's terrible. It's not compelling. I don't understand why, horror talk as it is was so obsessed with this movie, because this movie's not a horror movie, like, whatsoever. Like, in a weird, for whatever reason, it's listed as a comedy, which it's not funny either. But it's not gory. Like, again, there's like blood, but you don't see it. I mean, the implied violence is pretty disturbing, I guess. But also, the baby dies by mistake. Like, it's an accident. The father didn't kill the baby, like, maliciously. The father literally, like, gets this shitty glass top coffee table. He can't connect it correctly because he's missing a screw, so he leaves the fucking glass countertop up. And when he's holding the baby, he accidentally somehow, because you don't see it again, it's off screen, he somehow trips and the glass countertop decapitates the baby. So the rest of the movie is him freaking out because he just murdered his child, and then trying to cover it up by saying the baby's asleep, and him freaking out.
He doesn't like duct tape the head on like Dumb and Dumber, does he?
That would have been way better. Pretty baby. God, I love that part in Dumb and Dumber. Did I ever show you that tattoo I saw where somebody had the bird and it was duct taped and it said "Pretty Bird"? That's such a good joke. Isn't the kid blind?
The kid is blind. Yes.
Dude, the best part of that scene is like his head fell off, and it's like, yeah, he was old.
Our pets are falling off. Oh, yeah. God, that's a great movie. But a bad movie is The Coffee Table. And again, nothing happens in this movie. And I am befuddled as to why this was so hyped up. To the point where I think that it's I think people are paid to hype this movie up. You know,
yes.
This is a
yes. What is this? Why is this a revelation? Like, why is this like something you seem surprised about?
This is like a super, like, this isn't like, it's from some distribution house I've never heard of. I can't think of any other reason why people would hype this movie up, because it's terrible and it's boring and it's not shocking at all. Like, I don't.
Well, that's how I felt about Late Night with the Devil. Like, I kept seeing it on social media. People were like, "Man, this movie's amazing," and no one's watching it. And then I watched it.
But like, I mean, again, see, in that case though, like, that was getting good critical buzz for whatever reason. Like, that is different. Like, not there's just TikTok critic buzz. Like, that was getting like actual critic buzz. It's actually like Late Night with the Devil is like a real movie. You know, it has people that you've recognized in it. Like, that one I get, and people still defend that movie. The Late Night with the Devil is a very divisive movie. Like, I don't care for it, but there is its defenders.
The third act is its problem.
I mean, I would argue that the whole movie is its problem. Again, if they, like I already said before, the problem is that they put themselves into a bunch of problems that they didn't need to, and if they thought more about the script, it would have been a much better movie. But The Coffee Table, I don't get it. It's terrible. I don't understand the hype. Don't watch it. It's a total waste of time. So yeah, Gogs.
I watched one thing. My kids, after I snapped one of my kids' heads off on a coffee table, we decided to watch Captain America: The First Avenger. And that's a movie that I don't think I've revisited since, like, I think I've seen it like once out of the theaters, but this is probably like the third time I've seen it. I had no affinity. If you had asked me last week about it, I'd be like, yeah, it's like the second worst MCU movie, or not second worst.
Really?
Some other stuff is slid in underneath that, but like pre Infinity War, like in the main line, I'd be like, this is like After the Hulk, it's the worst one. And
the Hulk is your bottom? Really?
Hulk or Thor 2, like those are both very low. Hulk's trash. That movie sucks. Well, maybe it doesn't. Actually, let me take it back. Maybe the Hulk doesn't suck because up until last week I would have said that Captain America: The First Avenger was bad.
You've never seen the Eternals. I mean, you have to like
right. I mean, I'm talking about like pre.
Oh, you said you did say pre. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I apologize.
So like because the Marvels movie, I'm like that wasn't very good. And like
it was fine.
Anyway,
painfully mediocre.
Anyway, all the problems I remember having with Captain America: The First Avenger, I did not hate this time around. Like all the montages, I was like, oh no, this works. And like my biggest complaint about it is like the VFX are just they're just dated, right? Because it was 2013, 2008. I forget when that movie came out. Early 2010s, and just the visual, like the digital effects look bad in a lot of cases. But like, you know, Chris Evans is great in it. Like he's a very likable, like he's a great Captain America. He was an excellent casting.
Yeah.
Like the scenes with the Howling Commandos is a ton of fun.
Well, the guy made The Rocketeer, and we love The Rocketeer, I think, and it's basically the same movie. Like it's not super different, at least in tone.
No, and it's like
my biggest problem with the movie is that I feel like it takes him too long to become Captain America, and then they montage away like the stuff I want to see.
So that part is what my original.
You think that's a money thing?
Yeah, well, probably.
Like I thought that was I didn't like that either that's what I remember not liking. But this time around I was like, oh no, this works. It's like he finally like gets to Europe and he's like just doing the USO thing and he's finally getting booed and he finally finds his purpose because he goes to save Bucky and the boys in like a very cool solo assault. And then because he's got like super brains, he memorized all the locations of all of Red Skull's other bases. And you get the montage of him just kicking ass. And I'm like, this ain't bad. Like, this ain't bad at all.
I think that movie kind of suffers from two things that aren't its fault. One being that the origin story of Captain America everybody knows, and it's not, like, super interesting. I mean, I don't find World War II shit super interesting anymore. And the other thing is the second one is so fucking good and still might be the best of those movies.
The second one is so good. Like, I'm very excited. Now that my kids are teed up to watch it, now they know who Bucky is. And like all that, I was like, well, next one we're gonna watch is The Winter Soldier because that movie rules. Like,
yeah, I agree. It's probably the best. If it's not the best, it's top. It's definitely top 5.
Yeah,
but like
sure.
This was like Captain America: The First Avenger was a ton better than I remember. Like a ton better. Like I was with it the whole time. I was like, this is great. Like
maybe I need to revisit it.
Like I shocked how much affinity I had for it after like lambasting it for the last decade or however long it's been. So you know what? Maybe I should revisit the Hulk because I also just in my mind
it's not very good, Gogs. Neither of the two Hulk movies are very good.
Wait, the Ang Lee Hulk, right? But that's not the
Ang Lee Hulk is real
That's not
bad.
the in-canon Hulk movie. What's the second Hulk movie?
Edward Norton.
Right, the Ed Norton Hulk movie.
That's also not very good.
But that's the MCU
Yeah.
timeline.
That's technically the same Hulk that Mark Ruffalo is.
I think
that's what I'm
also
saying.
technically the same as Eric Bana, because isn't that Hulk?
No, that was
not.
No,
that was before.
MCU.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
The Ed Norton one's the reboot for the MCU, and then he couldn't like use his notes on hulking out, so he said, "Well, I was in Heist, so you should listen to me." And then
I believe that movie's called The Scourge.
Whatever it is, and then. They got
I just realized what he was talking about. I was like, what is that? Like,
Marlon Brando's final performance.
Yeah, that movie
and
sucks.
You get like
he's real bad in it too.
Like thinking man's John C. Reilly, Mark Ruffalo to come in and be just a charming.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Listen to that. Like I forget who it was. I think it was Frank Caliendo. He's like, here's how you do a Mark Ruffalo. He's like, you start with a John C. Reilly. And you pitch shift it down. They're exactly the same. I was like, all right.
Pretty funny.
So, but yeah, no, Captain America: First Avenger, a lot better than I remember. Very excited about watching The Winter Soldier with my kids. Oh, I also watched half. I forget if I talked about this last week or not. I watched half of this French horror movie on Shudder called Infested. I don't think I'm going to watch the second half. It's not boding very well. Like, it's not trending in the right direction. I mean, as much as I like watching French people get killed, like, this is just boring as hell. So, that's it. Sean, did you watch anything? Can we just get into
basketball playoffs?
Shout out to basketball playoffs.
Who's winning?
Several teams. The Knicks just got blown out today. They're in the semis. So next round is the conference finals and then the finals. PJ, I wish you were more into basketball because the meme content is excellent.
It seems like the most memeable sport. I don't know. Baseball's pretty fucking memeable because it's just full of autistic people. But yeah, I wish I was more into basketball too. I love sports. You know that.
Yeah, I don't care who knows.
Yeah. I just said
I forgot about that song. I just smoke cigars. We got what's the we can't what's the fuck? There's a line where it's like
there's no time to explain.
There's no time to explain. We can't tell the girls rules. There's no time to explain.
Oh, whenever I find
Single,
anything
double, triple, home run.
Any basketball thing I find, I send to Sean.
Yeah, like, it's almost the same as the Scott Stapp Marlin song.
Oh God, I love that song. That's such a good song.
Let the Marlins play.
Why don't they need to play that like every game?
Like, it's so just him naming baseball things in his voice. Baseball hats and baseball bats, baseball players, the baseball's the mayor. Like Marlins.
It's also just so funny because it's the fucking Marlins. Like, of course it's like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, love it.
Like the ultimate poverty franchise
that somehow managed to win the World Series several times.
Yeah. Yeah, with two totally different teams in like 3 years.
Very weird. Anyway. All right, let's talk about Roadhouse 2024's
Speaking of Florida.
Roadhouse.
Yeah. Hey, Gogs. Gogs, before we get into the movie, am I to understand that Dalton killed a guy in the UFC middleweight championship?
Yes. That is plot dependent, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he definitely killed a guy in the UFC middleweight championship.
He killed a guy, he killed a fighter that was like his friend, I guess. Like I don't
know if they were
after the worst
teammate. I don't know.
After the worst weigh-in trash talk. Yeah, stop. I'm laughing at you because you're a joke. Like what? We got another pass on that? Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, all right, so full disclosure, if I missed some details on the second half of this movie, that's when what I was dealing with kicked in, and I thought on some of this I made up. So
there is like almost the second half of the movie is like all fighting. So
it is, but it's all speed ramps and weird digital effects, and I was like, this is fucking bizarre. It was like when it was just like, also shout out again to The Fall Guy, a movie where the more I think about it, the more I like it. And it's not getting enough buzz. It's really good. And the scene where he's drugged and he's cartoon fighting, that's what the third act of this movie looks like.
I'll also shout out this movie for having no second act.
Yeah, just first act, third act.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
So anyway, movie opens at another, what looks like a roadhouse. And inside that, we find Hot Ones alumni Post Malone fighting all comers, and he's just having a field day out there. Like he's just really getting after it. He's 6 men deep. He's just kind of just chugging through them, and we're introduced to the heroine, I guess, of the film, the Roadhouse, the proprietor of the Roadhouse, Mrs. House. And she shows up and she's like, I need to talk to Buck Stevens or whatever his name is. And they're
one of my favorite parts of this movie is they introduce her and she's the clearly obvious, like, should be love interest, but they're like, we can't have an interracial couple on screen.
But they still do because Ratcatcher 2 is not white.
Yeah, but that's soft interracial. That's interracial without the hard R.
Okay,
Ratcatcher 2 is like Eastern European. She's white.
She's like, okay, all right.
Oh, I thought she was meant to be like.
I thought she was Yeah,
like Lebanese?
Colombian.
Oh, okay.
Oh, in real life, she's like from Belgium or Bulgaria or something.
But she is a doctor, which is important because that's what she is in the first movie.
That's correct. So anywho, Roadhouse lady's like, I need a dude to slap more dudes around. And she looks down at the split rail fence octagon and she's like, I'm going to hire, the guy who sings Superstar or whatever. And they're like, well, that's a good choice because he's beat up 6 men tonight and he's looking to beat up another one. And then in strolls Jake Gyllenhaal and he's like, I'm going to take my hood off and make everybody scared because immediately Post Malone's like, fuck that. I'm not fighting this guy. And then they hand Jake Gyllenhaal a bunch of money and he goes out to his K car and gets stabbed for scaring everybody away from money.
Can we talk about Jake Gyllenhaal? What did you call him? What was his name?
I couldn't even repeat that name. I don't even know.
Jake Gildas Alexander's weird, his old man body where he's like super ripped, but also too old to be that ripped with no body fat, so his muscles look super weird. Like
I called those dudes at the gym Dr. Pump because they were like a 60-year-old man that's just ripped.
He's got those weird ass like Liver King muscles. Like
he's got like concentration camp body. Like he's just too skinny.
His abs are like kind of like layered askew. You know what I mean? Like they're stacked strange. Like they're.
But anyway, he catches like an oyster shucking knife like in the kidney and just no sells it and then just sends the guy on his merry way.
Well, she offers him.
He gets stabbed at that same spot at the end of the movie, and I was like, "Is this like reincorporation for some reason?" Did you guys catch that? Like,
yeah.
I was like, "What was that?"
Before he does the shout out to the fact that he does a Bill the Butcher at the end of this movie.
Also, guys, did you mention that Post Malone is in the beginning of this?
Yeah,
I think
like
I
3 times.
Thrice.
Basement rules.
Also, she offers him $5,000 per week for 1 month exclusively with zero explanation.
He's like because she wants to
only for a month.
Malone. Only for a month, $5,000 a week. An easy 20 G's. Come down to Glass Key, which turns out doesn't exist, and come hang out at my Roadhouse. And so he's like,
also,
I don't know,
it technically a roadhouse if it's on a beach on the water?
I kind of like slept through her explanation of why her uncle jokingly called it that, but like,
was there? Okay.
Because he's like, she also made a joke, like he also named the houseboat, which is called The Boat. So it's like, I don't know. There was some through line joke there that went right over my head. So, chat, just let us know. So anyway, he duct tapes himself back together. He's like, I don't know, lady. She's like, well, let me give you your phone number. He's like, I don't have a phone. And she's like, all right, well, here's a Post-it note. And she slaps it on his dashboard. And then he decides to kill himself in front of a train. But then he says, maybe not. And then the back end of his K car gets cleaved off by a CSX. He's like, better get to Glass Key then.
For a more contemporary reference, he's driving what the kids would call a cigarette car these days.
So now he goes down to Glass Key and he passes their famous bridge tree Steve, and he gets off at the Greyhound bus station.
It's Harold from Fallout, that ghoul that turned into a tree.
Oh, right,
yeah. So he pops out of the Greyhound bus station and he meets some plot, and the plot owns a bookstore, and it's a girl. And she's got a book about a tree, and she's there with her dad at the strip center. Like this town consists of this.
If they made this movie 5 years later, this bookstore would be a Funko Pop store.
Right.
Like it's just teetering on the edge of like, why would there be a bookstore?
It's so fucking funny to me. I've never seen a movie like so obviously throw like, well, here's like reason for him to get mad later. Like it's so obvious. Like the bookstore makes like no fucking sense.
They should just call it superfluous books. Like it's like.
Yeah, it's kind of incongruous because no one's reading on Glass Key. Also, am I led to believe the entire town is a marina with a crocodile, the Roadhouse, wherever the bad guy, his party mansion and his yacht dock, and then this strip center, and that's the entire town. Like that's all of the town.
And this dude, the shithead yacht guy, like he's willing to like basically broker his entire life for this town that's 4 buildings on a.
He wants to put a 5th building up. So
also, they are way too rich to be in dipshit Keys, Florida. Like, this is like Miami money, not like.
Well, it later comes out that he's there because apparently this part of the Glass Key doesn't show up on any Coast Guard nautical charts, so it becomes the perfect place to smuggle drugs. So
that is ludicrous.
There is a plot dependent reason why
my guy
is so important.
Jake Gyllenhaal drove there. They have
I know that. Right. No, trust me. It's silly, but it's also what happens. So what do you want me to do about it, Sean?
That's fair.
So, anywho, he's like, all right, well, let me go to the Roadhouse. So he goes to the Roadhouse. And he orders himself a coffee, but they don't have coffee. So they give him a Cuban coffee. And then he sits there and he watches the lunch fights. And
is it just me, or is this like this Tumblr activist bartender like wildly out of place in this town?
Oh yeah. No, this SJW is just like, what? She's like here in Glass Key for what reason exactly? Like,
she just like a sociology paper? Like, why is she there?
Yeah, she's just trying to just sell pussy hats. So now, he's there. He's clocking the situation. We are treated to, over the course of the film, just a myriad of unlicensed bad music.
Oh my God.
It is horrific.
Bro, the fucking, the walk-up song they do for him, when they go back to the UFC, and it sounds like the WCW version of Enter Sandman. Guys, I don't know if you remember this, but like WCW used to like literally just like take Diamond Dallas Page's song was "Smell Like Teen Spirit," but they changed like 3 notes, so it's like legally distinct.
Remember when he was on TRL and Dave Grohl was there?
Yeah, with Nirvana. Yeah.
Also, like, as a resident Florida expert, this town would have one song available, and it would be "Crazy Bitch" by Buck Cherry. That would be the soundtrack.
Dude, that song's a slapper.
They should have gotten Buck Cherry. Apparently,
Buck Cherry could have done a residence at the Roadhouse.
Bro,
they played one song.
They could use the money because apparently they are performing at Ocean City Bike Week at the end of the summer.
Y'all crazy, bitch, but I
get to take it overtime.
Yes. Anywho, so he witnesses like the afternoon shebangs, and he's like, all right, I think I can probably help you out.
Also a wild alternate Florida where not every single person has a firearm on them at all times.
Wildly enough, people aren't strapped at all times in this scenario. So then
this is a weird like knife universe. Everybody's got a knife. Nobody has a few people have guns.
Right. So then he goes and he talks to the boss lady about her roadhouse. She gives him keys to the boat where he can live. Also, beware, there's a gator that the law refuses to do anything about. So then now he's roadhousing and we're roadhousing. And the boys on the bikes show up to the roadhouse and start causing trouble. Inclusive, this one just sweet boy who's part of this bike gang.
I love that he comes back later.
Yeah. So then, Jake Gyllenhaal's guys he tells they start a little scrum in the roadhouse, and he's like, "Hey fellas, you come outside." And they're like, "No, fuck you, Jake Gyllenhaal." And he's like, "All right, well I'm gonna go knock your bikes over." So he's like, "All right, well now we're gonna come outside." And then he's just like confidently slaps the fuck out of them, breaks their arms, beats the shit out of them, and then very conscientiously drives them to the hospital, which I thought was a genuinely
one of the best parts of the movie.
The 10-minute discussion as to the logistics of where the hospital is fucking hysterical.
It was.
Well, I also liked in the course of that fight, like he's explaining like you can just stop, man. Like you're just gonna lose in front of all your friends, and then he's just like. I think the one guy that's like soft, he's like, my arm. He's like, yeah, I broke your arm. Like, he's very not like nonchalant about everything.
I know I said it in the text, but like Jake Gyllenhaal is so like effortlessly charming in this movie. Like he's a lot of fun.
So he just beats the dog shit out of these guys, takes him to the hospital, takes him to the ER. That's where he meets his love interest because she's like, thanks for bringing all these broke dicks. He's like, sorry. She's like, I don't like dudes that do this for fun. He's like, technically, I got paid for it. And then that just gets her.
Yeah,
like that's
not better. I don't.
It's kind of worse.
Where he's like, well, nobody really wins a fight.
Yeah.
Why do it?
Except me. Yeah. I'm
literally my job.
Yeah. So she reworks whatever zigzag stitches he gave himself, and now she's like damp for him. So here we are. So now he goes back to doing his thing, but now we get to meet like what looks like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon mouse turned man, bad guy boy who's on his yacht trying to get shaved.
Bad guy boy.
And he's trying so hard to be arch.
He's trying to get a razor shave on a boat.
On choppy water. And I'm like, what? Like, this doesn't even make sense from trying to present like how tough you are.
I mean, it was funny. I thought it was funny.
It's funny, but it's stupid. Yeah, and all the dudes. And so here, let's set this scene up, right? He's sitting there dressing down all the dudes who got the shit kicked out of him now that they've been, except for their boss who's still at the hospital, Dell. So the rest of the goons are on the boat, right?
Goons.
But these hired goons got on the boat and then they went out to sea. Like there was a period of time before the dressing down of the goons happened where they're just hanging out on the boat and then dude decides to get a shave. Like there's no but let's say I'm a crime syndicate leader, right? Like as soon as my goons screw up, I'm going to be like, guys, do better. Like I wouldn't put you on a boat and then sail out into the Gulf of Mexico or
I didn't even think about that, guys. You're right. Like there was a very long, awkward period where what did they just hang out?
Well, this is like when you're getting fired, but they won't do it until Friday, so you don't shoot up the office.
Right. Yeah, so then, now he's got to once he dismisses them, he can't dismiss them off the boat. He has to dismiss them to the below decks until we get back into port, so then they can be properly dismissed back to the sort of dilapidated party mansion where they inhabit. So anywho, he's like, guys, do better. And he's like, all right, we will. So then they go back to this empty pool party mansion. So it looks like the Schlitz gay before scene, like it's just a rundown dump. And Dalton's Daltoning, and he's living on the boat, and he's having flashbacks of the ring, and we don't know what happened, but anyone with two brain cells to rub together was like, oh, he probably killed a guy in the ring, and that's why he's done, and everyone's scared of him.
They hint at it about a billion times.
Well, it was one of two things. Either they killed a man in the ring or he died in the ring, and since he's still there, he must have killed a man in the ring. So he's roadhousing some more. And just listening to the worst music ever, and just cajoling with the locals, and then the goons.
Do you think the guy yelling was breaking the fourth wall? Like, what is this bullshit you're playing? Like, is that supposed to be the audience circuit?
Also, it was just it was an extra who was just fed up.
I felt like all these. I didn't look at the credits, but I felt like all these bands seemed like real bands, and I bet they were like, oh, we're gonna get our break now.
No, you will not. Like you don't get the fun, one of the things. So let's reflect on the fact that I love the original Roadhouse despite all its flaws. Like the fact that the Dalton and the band were boys.
The blind guy?
Were boys. Yeah, they knew each other from lots of different
Wasn't that Ronnie Millsap, who's a actual recording artist? I'm pretty sure.
I forget. Well, I know it's a real blind guy.
Yeah, I think it's Ronnie Millsap, who's who's a pretty well known.
I've recently seen the original Roadhouse movie, and it's
a ton of fun. Just finish that sentence. No,
the fights are so bad.
Yeah, but they run a monster truck through a car dealership, and then what's his name gets RoboCopped at the end, and that's amazing. So anyway,
Terry Funk's in it, if I remember correctly.
Yes, Terrence Funk is in it. So now, we're roadhousing, we're hanging out. I don't know, more plot maybe happens. Someone gets snuck away to a secret date. The big bad boss man wants Dalton to come around because he's ruining all of his plans. He tries to catch him in various schemes and ways, and fingers get broken.
I love how non-bothered Dalton is by literally everything. It's like, come on,
he's just like people flashing. Well, he's like, what's fun is when he's going to kill himself on the train tracks. He's like, you're already set up with a man who doesn't care if he lives or dies anymore, and that gives the guy a lot of latitude, a lot of.
But he's also like incredibly, like, what's the word, like pragmatic about everything. Like, I don't know if we're here yet in the movie, but there's a point where the hired goon comes out and he pulls a gun and he's like, "Oh, gun, huh?" He's like, "Well, that's not that effective. If I break these two fingers, you're not going to be able to."
The gun in your waistband's not doing anything for me right now.
Right. So then he breaks his hand and he's like, "See, now you can't." And then like another guy comes up and he's like, "You got a gun too?" And he's like, "I think I left it in the truck." Like, funny line.
It's such a human moment. Like,
he's like, "There's a hospital about 25 minutes that way."
The fact that he keeps like referring to the, I don't know. There's a lot of like very like genuinely funny moments in this movie. I thought.
Jake's performance I love in this movie. I'm not gonna lie, from start to finish.
I also love another performance in the movie for completely the wrong reasons.
Oh, the opposite reasons. Yeah, I have a feeling I know who you're talking about.
So anyway, so stuff goes south. So there's more rumbles in the roadhouse, and Gyllenhaal's like, I'm gonna go walk home across the bridge, and Dell's out of the hospital now, so he tries to hit him with a car repeatedly, dunks a car into, let's say, the Gulf of Mexico, and then shows up on the houseboat to shotgun Dalton to death. And then he just gets disarmed and just like emasculated. And then you watch him get eaten by a crocodile. And then
he says, I'm not going to kill you.
Right. He's like, but the crocodile will. So then, because Dalton's like not into.
Well, he's not things. To Dalton's credit, he actually tries to save the guy from the crocodile. He does.
For the first 2/3 of this movie, or actually for the first, like, everything except for the last 15 minutes, Dalton is like, I'm not going to kill anyone ever again. Like, you can tell he's not going to just finish. He's not going to coup de grace anyone until he decides
until plot contrivance gets attacked, and then it's no more Mr.
Well, he got mad.
He got mad, right?
Which they couldn't afford, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So anywho, the ER doc, who's both disgusted and just infatuated with him, steals a boat and takes him out for a Corona commercial date. And then I guess he swims home because he's like, I can't get connected to women anymore. And then he gets shanghaied by the bad guy from Desperado, who's the sheriff of Glass Key. And he's like, don't touch my daughter. And then the daughter saves him.
I like how they had to give him, like, cause Ratcatcher, by the way, Ratcatcher 2 is Portuguese. So she's still very white.
They are white.
But anyway, they cast her and she obviously has a very like thick accent. So like, shit. Because at one point she's like, well, I was raised here and born here. So like, fuck. Well, let's get some weird accent guy to be your dad.
Also, accents are not like transferable. My mother has a very thick accent and I do not.
So do you. I can barely understand what you say half the time.
Oh. Well,
so anywho, he gets threatened to like leave the keys and maybe his daughter, but she saves him in a Mini Cooper. And then you find out more plot. Like there was this dude, and this dude owned the whole town except for her uncle's Roadhouse bar. Or
her uncle,
such.
Dr. Martin Luther King, which I laughed at. When he's like contemplating whether or not she's being honest about it.
That was funny. So then this guy did drugs, and now he's in prison, and he's only making collect calls to his boat son, and the sheriff used to work for him, and he's still pulling. Now the sheriff works for his boat son.
I do like how some of the cops are corrupt. I'm like, this island is the size of my bathroom. How many cops are there?
It's like 3 square miles.
This town is like population like 400 people. Like, what are you doing?
It's a town in the same way that like the Republic of Sealand, that oil platform, is a country. You know what I mean?
Like 2%. Like, just by math, 2% of the population have to be part of the sheriff's department. So what are we doing? So now, this guy who you never see, which I think is fun, He's like the bad guy from
I wanted to ask you
Inspector
guys
Gadget.
about that.
Like Dr. Claw?
No, do you guys think, because I thought about that the whole time, do you think that they were trying to line up like somebody like a big
Brian
cameo?
Cox or somebody?
Oh, I think it's meant to be Dana White.
Yeah, that's what I thought, somebody like that, to that extent, like a big cameo, and it just didn't come together. Because it seemed odd. You never heard from him.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
The scene where the sheriff intimidates Dalton and they just refuse to make his face unblurred for like a majority of that scene. Like it was like a weird choice. And then he gets out of the car and you see his face the whole way and you're like, are you supposed to be like, oh?
Yeah, I was very confused by that.
I was like, you can do dual focus. Like this is we have the technology.
It was very weird.
It was a strange choice. Anyway, so this guy makes a collect call to Italy, and I guess that's where Connor McGregor happens to be.
Do you have an Italian phone book? Yes. Can I use your phone?
Why?
Is it a local call? Yes.
Yes. So he calls Connor McGregor, and like Liz said, Liz was watching this with me at this point. She's like,
"I'm sorry."
Oh God.
Yeah, she was like, he's doing the worst Irish accent imaginable, right? And I was like,
that's why I texted. I don't know if I texted both of you, just TJ. I'm like, is he dubbed? It sounds like ADR, like the whole.
It sounds like ADR, but it doesn't even make like it doesn't like all he do is just talk like himself. Like his idea of acting is bananas.
He's so fucking bad in this movie, and stuff like this does happen. I would not be surprised if the UFC paid to have him in this movie.
Bro, he is like from a cartoon dimension. You talk about the one guy being Arch. It's just like he is bonkers, and his Toshiro Mifune shit of constantly eating sandwiches. Like,
yeah. Also, he lives like the way I play Grand Theft Auto. Like he just gets into random cars and then doesn't park, just crashes them to get out. Like that's what I did. That's what I do in Grand Theft Auto games. Like I just jump the medians. And
from a technical standpoint, I almost want to give them an Academy Award because once Conor McGregor's in the movie, they have to shoot everything from the floor to make him look big. Because I think
he's like a puffer fish. Like he's trying to make
massive. But I bet you Jake Gyllenhaal's a foot taller than him in real life. Like I would almost guarantee it.
He's like walking around 6 feet wide. Like what is happening?
It is absurd.
Like watch fucking his weird
his mayor walk. Like he's just like.
He walks like one of the bushwhackers. Like
he looks like one of those creatures from A Quiet Place. Like he's just way out there and it doesn't make any sense. And I'm back in the heyday of Conor McGregor. I love Conor McGregor, but he's just a feisty twink. Like he's just a little man.
So okay, so I just looked it up. Shockingly, Jake Gyllenhaal is only 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
And Conor McGregor is listed as 5'9", but
which means he's 5'7".
He's 5'9", soaking wet. Like I bet
Conor McGregor is what? that doesn't work.
Look at if when you go back and watch this movie, which I plan to at some point, look at the camera angles. They are all upwards at a 45-degree angle.
Yeah. No, they're shot like war footage from a beach. Like it's Anywho, so I guess Conor McGregor crimes his way back to the United States without any pants. And there's
why would you call this guy to do anything? Obviously he's a menace.
He's
in what way?
In what way? How is he not immediately arrested for?
He ruffled all sorts of feathers. He did what he was supposed to do. He's a rabble rouser.
Also, props to this movie for covering up Conor McGregor's normally horrible tattoos with
an even worse
horrible tattoo.
But do you see how it said, what's his name? Rage? It said his name, repeatedly across his chest.
So bad.
Steve.
His actual tattoos are awful, but, those tattoos are even worse.
But anyway, so he's like, Faith and Begora, I'll be over there to fight this guy.
Sorry.
Oh, toy.
So then he gets on I guess a cigarette boat and crosses the Atlantic because the next morning he is in Glass Key.
He goes from Palermo to Florida by boat in 6 hours.
So he shows up at the party mansion, and he's like, "All right, well, here's a golf club. I'm just gonna be terrible." And
he looks like fucking Gimli.
Yeah, like, and then Mouseface Killer shows up. He's like, "Who sent you?" He's like, "Your father did." And he's like, "Okay, well, that's fine."
Yelling at me.
I got a message from you. From your father.
From your father.
It's so bad. Like, I really, like, I know I say this all the time about certain movies, but God, I wish we all watched this one together, because I was in near tears every time. Because, like, there's a certain, like, I don't know if you guys caught this, but, like, a lot of times when they cut to Connor, it's just a oneer. So in my head, I'm like, oh, he must have fucked his lines up, like, constantly.
Oh, yeah.
So they were like,
in a soundstage somewhere by himself. Like, it made me think
there's a part where him and Gyllenhaal are together, and it's shot from behind Gyllenhaal. It's like, I wonder if they did like a stand-in for him because Gyllenhaal didn't want to be in the scene.
I bet.
Like,
I mean, it seemed like
thanks.
a lot of that. Yeah,
I was in
like
Nightcrawler.
Well, he started doing like, he started like.
I was dying watching his performance. It was so funny.
He dipped into like South African. He dipped into Jamaican. Like, his accent was everywhere. Like,
there should be an Academy Award for most interesting performance.
Great.
Not best.
It's like right along the lines of like Tom Hardy in that Capone movie that I hated. Like, his performance in that was interesting.
Like, so now the Mouse Man goes and he's like, "Hey, I heard you wanted to talk to me. Listen, we're gonna break the third wall and talk about plot or some shit."
The
like,
third wall.
Here's there's only 3 in this movie.
Fair.
He's like, "Oh, by the way, I found this on Live Leak. Here's you killing that guy." And then he goes in like a catatonic state. So Gyllenhaal gets a little silly, and then Connor McGregor like ape walks in. He's like, "Lord have mercy," and he just starts hitting people with a golf club. And then,
Dalton.
He says,
a lot of mercy.
So he's just like, like everyone was just waiting for the Roadhouse to Roadhouse again. So they just
he's not like loud enough to hear. So he's like yelling, but like there's no chance anybody hears what he's saying. He says such a weird voice.
But everybody was just like waiting for it. So like then they have like they're like food fight, but bar fight, and they just start just beating the piss out of each other. And Dalton's like, "Yeah, I can't anymore with this." And so he after like 30 minutes of like just all hell breaking loose, he wanders through the fight to fight his way towards Connor McGregor, and then Connor McGregor hands him his lunch, and then Dalton's like, "Well, that's enough of that." So
I don't think we ever talked about it, but there's a very brief subplot that like Dalton is training the next generation of bouncers. Oh yeah. And he doesn't get involved until Connor beats up one of those kids. Then he gets involved.
Right. So then he's like, Dalton's like, "Well, that's fine. I'm out." But then other subplot, you find out that one of the other lesser goons, but still like a lieutenant, burned down the bookstore, which happens to be right through the only exit of the level. So he had to walk by it. So he's going to get on his Greyhound. But, oh, wait, I'm sorry. I missed a huge plot point. Dalton ends up breaking up a money transference situation. Oh, no, this happens later. I take it back. Anywho. He goes to the Greyhound bus station. He's like, "I'm out. Deuces." And then he looks to his left and he's like, "Oh shit, the building burned down. I loved the child that ran this store." So then he's like, "Well, that's that. My bus is driving away. So I guess it's time for vengeance." So then he goes and he breaks up some sort of cash deposit situation on a key. But first he goes to the party mansion in unhinged psycho mode and like like he manages to drown a man by collapsing his larynx in one punch and then throwing him in a pool. So I don't know which way
he
he died.
Breaks his hyoid bone, he says.
Yeah. So he's dying one way or the other. I don't know whether it's lungs or whether it's water fills his lungs or no air comes to his lungs, but it's horrific. And then he's like, all right,
this is a brutal kill.
Oh, it is. Like if you thought throat rips in the first movie were bad, this is 10 times worse. You were there the whole time.
Him fucking killing this guy and then letting him like sit there to drown is fucking brutal.
It's like a cat playing with a dying mouse. Like it's
I think what makes it honestly, like watching this movie, like there's almost like a horror element to it because he's so in control of every situation. Like he's in God mode. Everybody So it's like you're literally only living by his grace. And so
because he's like, yeah, I'm scared. He's like, I am always scared. I'm scared of what I'm about to do. Because it's like,
I loved it though. I thought that was great.
He hoists this body out of the pool and puts it on ice, and then drives the houseboat to the cash drop off where he disrupts a corrupt police officer getting like a Foot Locker full of money, and then he creates like the worst. It's like what a child thinks framing would be. Like he pulls a cold corpse out of a suitcase and shoots it with a cop's gun, and then he beats the piss out of the cop with some driftwood to give him like memento disease, and then he sends the boat just away.
The cop now the reaction. The cop's like, "Well, I'll just tell him you shot him," and his reaction is like, "Oh, okay."
He's like, "Oh, sure, okay." It's like he's just like, you're right. He's like, he becomes like a switch gets flipped, and it becomes very dark. It's like,
I love it so much.
Now they just want the money back, and so then there's like a series of whodunits and what have yous to like. All right, well, we're going to kidnap Ratcatcher 2, and please help me save my daughter, and she's on the party boat, but she's not on the party boat. And then we're going to fight our way through the party boat, and then pray for everybody in the rocket house as it slams into
protect everyone in this rocket house.
So then, they fight their way through the boat, and then the bad guy's boat explodes. Here's another bold choice by Dalton. He makes I almost said IUD, an IED, an improvised explosive device. He smuggles it aboard said boat where his love interest / the daughter of the sheriff is, and he decides to explode it and then sink the boat, but assuming she's below deck and not tied to the crow's nest, he would have to fight his way through a sinking boat to rescue her, which he does. And then they fight their way onto a secondary boat, and then that secondary boat and then Connor McGregor shows up on a third, like an inflatable raft boat, and now all these boat folk are just chasing each other through the Keys. At some point, Liz is like, "Is the dad dead?" And I was like, "I can only assume so."
I have no idea. Turns out not dead.
No, turns out. So then they crash the boat into the roadhouse. And the kids,
Are we just gonna gloss over dude flying 500 feet straight up in the air?
No, that's what I was about to say.
How? Oh, I'm sorry.
Like Rat Face Boy flies onto the roof. Like he just end over end, just like he gets launched onto the thatched roof of the roadhouse. Like he is full send. And then Conor McGregor shows up in his inflatable, and then like the Rat Boy is like, "Where's my money?" and sad whatever. And then Connor's like, I forget what happened. I forget what the sequence of events were. I think maybe Connor doesn't. Is this where he doesn't stab Gyllenhaal to death? Or was the first fight he chooses? He was going to stab Gyllenhaal in the eye, just stabs him in the leg or in the chest, where his previous wound was. So this time, like this guy's dressing down Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor like snaps his neck, if memory serves. And now Conor McGregor and Gyllenhaal have another fight, but this time Gyllenhaal's unhinged, and as the fighting happens, then he Bill the butchers him, like he just That's a kill. That's a kill.
Did you mention the part where he's like, they're in the raft? He's like, oh, it's like a little octagon. And Gyllenhaal goes, Who taught you
shapes? That cracked me.
Was very funny.
That was hilarious.
That joke landed, but then, like, not 20 minutes later, there's almost this very similar joke where Connor McGregor is beating Jake Gyllenhaal on a piano, and Jake Gyllenhaal stops and goes, "This piano's out of tune," and then Connor McGregor goes, "It's like to me," and it's like
it's Looney Tunes.
Yeah, it's stupid as shit.
So then, anywho, Jake Gyllenhaal takes a bunch of knives and sticks them in all of his major organs in alphabetical order. Plot's resolved. I forget what happens to the sheriff. I think they tell him to like beat feet and leave. And then people are like, there's a literal boat in the center of the roadhouse, and some locals like, hey, can I get a Michelob Ultra? And then I think like
this is the only place to eat or drink in this whole town.
Well, it's got 4 buildings, and it's been stopping the 5th one from getting developed, which was the plot, I guess. And then Jake Gyllenhaal is like, well, I'm gonna go beat up another town. So he leaves. But before he leaves, he drops off $1 trillion in a suitcase to the girl and her dad. And that's Roadhouse.
And I hope they don't rebuild the bookstore. Don't waste it.
No. Make it a dispensary. Make some real coin.
Like, nobody in this town can read except maybe the doctor and the woman that owns the Roadhouse. So, like, just skip it.
Yeah. But this movie is like bananas in a lot of ways.
Yeah. In almost all ways. Yeah.
Like it's a hell of a swing. It's a big swing.
I'll give the movie so much credit because like it recognizes that the movie is like, I feel like this is a movie that's like, we know that 80s movies are big and stupid, but like I want to make like the biggest, stupidest movie ever, and that's kind of what this felt like. Like this felt like a canon movie. Like it's so over the top and silly, and like so many weird choices. Again, like Ratcatcher 2 is great and all, and she's hot. Like I get her as a love interest, but like that accent is tough, and to have her be like, I was born and raised in Florida. It's like,
Like, the thing I love about this movie, it keeps escalating. There's no pathos. Nobody learns anything.
No.
It's like, and then he's off to possibly go to other roadhouses because he can't stay for reasons.
Yeah, he's got to work the circuit and just continue to, like, I don't know, murder for justice, I suppose.
Murder for justice.
Yeah, Joaquin de Almeida he's also from Portugal. So actually, they did their research and they got a Portuguese dad and a Portuguese daughter. So, you know,
probably thought they were both Mexican.
Well, at least they're both the same.
And I guess maybe
but
maybe
different.
the mom was Portuguese too, because the mom, you never saw the mom, so.
Well, who knows? Anyway, the mom's head exploded. So now, I thought Post Malone was going to come back, honestly. Like, I expected him.
I was hoping he was going to come back.
I was figuring, like, in the escalation of heavies, like, he would be somewhere between the first round of heavies and Connor McGregor. Like, they'd be like, oh, we'll send Post.
Maybe it was a thing where they tried it. They were going to try it, and then they saw the dailies from McGregor, and it's like, we can't wrangle 2 of these things. We got one. That's it.
You don't get a Sam Elliott Miho character in this movie. I guess the little girl's bookstore. I mean, I would have liked that.
You needed what's his name? The guy that we like, who was in VFW and no.
Stephen Lang?
Stephen Lang. He could have been in this movie. That would have been pretty sick if he was like the mentor type character.
Also, big applause for them not actually like fucking and ending up married or something at the end.
No.
Like he's like, no, I gotta go just keep on being the Hulk.
He's a hollow murderer. Like he's purpose built for one reason, and that's just vengeance, and I love it. Like,
yeah, honestly, the love interest part of this movie, like, well, both the love interest and the bookstore people are like so superfluous. Like they're literally
they could have saved a half hour of the movie with the love interest by just having some guy come up and hit on Jake Gyllenhaal and he goes, oh, I'm not gay, because that is the purpose of that character.
But like they could like if Amazon ever gets bought by Disney, they could just say that Edgewood Castle or Edgewood Dalton changed his name to Frank Castle and became the Punisher canonically because he's just out here killing dudes, and I'm here for it. Like, let's go. This movie sucks and it's awesome at the same time. I've very rarely experienced a film like this.
Yeah.
Like, I know you guys are making comparisons to The Beekeeper, which was.
Oh yeah, it's very similar.
Like, it's just as dumb, but like it's slightly more charming. Like, it's.
Oh, it's incredibly charming. Like, it's very
it's more fun than The Beekeeper. Like, it's intentionally fun, whereas The Beekeeper is unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah, like this movie was. Like,
there's nothing serious about this movie. It's not satirizing anything.
Yeah,
it's just a stupid movie.
And I feel like
what Alex said.
Yeah,
please do.
All right, here's this. Just hear this in Alec voice. Hey buddies. My Roadhouse thoughts. This is simultaneously one of the best and worst movies I've ever seen. From a pure film standpoint, it's trash, but most of it is the best trash. Stupid action, nonsensical plot, holes everywhere, Jake Gyllenhaal overacting in a good way, Connor McGregor doing something, triple question marks, in the worst way. I kind of loved it, and I think it's a good companion piece to the original Roadhouse. We need more movies like this and The Beekeeper. I feel like Hollywood isn't really into making dumb action movies anymore unless they are starring 70-year-old men. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Overall, I'll give it an 8. It's not perfect, far from it, but I thought it was fun enough and it had enough action to merit a good score. Conor McGregor's acting notwithstanding.
Fair.
I'm going to agree 100% except for Conor McGregor's acting definitely withstanding. Yeah. Like, it's not the same movie without that bonkers shit he's doing.
I just he doesn't know what he doesn't. Do you think he watched that and like was proud of it?
I bet they did multiple takes on any of this shit.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, I doubt it.
They're like, we gotta get this, because he probably acted like that the entire time. They're like, get him in, do whatever he's got to do, and get him the fuck out of here because he's getting on my nerves.
Do you like my anchor boy? Like, it's like, oh, mama, like, what are we doing?
It's like, we are out of cocaine. We got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
I need to get a pint here on the beach.
You got any, Charlie?
Oh, I like an old sandwich. I just swam from Palermo.
I'm just eating toast. What are we doing?
What are we even doing? Oh, and like the sweet boy who's part of the gang, like witnessed. I didn't even touch on this. He witnessed after Dalton murdered the lieutenant. He witnessed him loading him into his truck. He's like, please don't murder me.
That dude.
He comes back again too.
Yeah, that dude's funny.
That guy is funny.
That guy, he was the gay guy on Broad City. That's the first place I ever saw that guy. That show.
Broad City bitch. Broad City bitch.
Yep. That's right.
Isn't that how the song goes?
I don't know.
Oh, it's Rack City. Damn it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The misogynist version just goes the way you...
I mean, I think Rack City is probably pretty misogynist too, if memory serves. I don't
know. I don't follow hip hop.
Well,
with the raps.
The raps.
I blame the hip hop.
I'll blame the hip hop. So yeah, scores then, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll just say, like this is like. I wrote down, I was like, it's a 3 or it's a 7, but I'm going to give it a 7 just because I'm trying to imagine, I forget which one of you said it. If we had all been together watching this, like, as a unit, I think we would have just had, like, the most joyous experience. Like, I think it would have been so much fun. So it's a 7. It doesn't deserve it, but it kind of does. Like, this is such an anomaly of a film. Like, I don't know what to do with it. But I am going to watch it again, like, most definitely. Gyllenhaal's good in it. Like, he's fun in it. He is charming. Like, it moves. The movie moves. It just keeps going. And Conor McGregor not knowing how to do an Irish accent is befuddling. Like, it doesn't make a lick of sense, but here we are. Like, all you had to do was just talk like yourself. And I feel like he was just like, no, I'm going to do a voice. I was like, okay, well, why are you doing a Miss Cleo? Like, what
is he trying to do Italian?
Here? Yeah, he's like,
oh shit, was his character Italian?
Do you think that's what he was trying to do? Because I would have felt like he would have been like...
How can you not do your own voice? And then why would you pick an accent that is also your accent and do it wrong? Like that,
well, he did it. Like he did. Like he did that. It's impossible what he did, but he pulled it off.
It would be like if we were in a movie and we all did bad Catonsville accents. Like, how would that be possible?
Well, it's like you just do your like everyone just be yourself. We all just start going.
I mean, it's a little like Ben Affleck. Like, he has the word, like, he's from Boston, and every time he does the Boston accent, it sucks.
He leans into it. Yeah, but Connor McGregor has a legit Irish accent. Like when his speaking voice is Irish. So just
all he had to do was just talk. Yeah, all he had to do was.
Do you think the director was just sitting there going, I don't know what the fuck to do with this? Like, I have no idea, like, how.
1,000%.
Yeah, we got it. Great.
Yeah, he's probably just sitting there just, like, stressed out, like, rubbing his temples, like, what is going on?
You want to do it again? Nope, we got it. Nailed it, brother.
He legit sounded like the leprechaun from the movie The Leprechaun. Like, it was so bad. But this movie's a ton of fun, and it's free because of Jeff Bezos. So check out Roadhouse. Sean.
Oh, it's an 8. I had like dog shit expectations for this, and it was just fun. Like, I'll take fun. You know what I mean? Like, with the shit we watched. Like, he's in from another planet. Gyllenhaal's cool. Like, the fight scenes are not like overly badly choreographed, but also
lots of digital effects, a lot of
but also like completely unnecessary.
Yeah,
green screen and shit. Like, it's just like I don't care.
It was superfluous. It reminded me of? It reminded me of the second Ghost Rider movie. Like with that level of like VFX, like just like tight push-ins to digital faces. I'm sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I love a movie where nobody learns anything. Like, that's fun. Like, either like don't give me an arc that doesn't make sense. Just don't have an arc.
Yeah,
like that's it.
Yeah, the only people
don't try.
All the redemptions were just murder and death. Like if you
no, you want to give them some like a change? Nah, it's max of effort. Let's just have.
Why bother?
I had a lot of fun. Like, it's Neo canon. Like, it's perfect in its stupidity.
Neo canon, I love that.
Yeah,
that's a great. Yeah, that should be patent pending.
Patent pending.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an 8 for me, dog. It is so fucking stupid. But man, it's a lot of fun.
It's a certified good ass movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun to watch. And
I'll bump it up to an 8 just so it can be a certified good ass movie. I'll go 8 because I want it to be a certified good ass movie.
I'll be honest, before we started recording, I had it in my head to give it a 7 because of Connor's bad acting. But the more we talked about it, the more I actually enjoyed the movie more.
He should be in every movie, like serious, like Christopher Nolan movies.
Like, because he's so bad.
What do you mean you can't remember anything?
But it's like compelling bad. It's not just like it's not like X-Pac heat.
Like, no, it's hilarious bad because it's just so fucking bad. But yeah, no, it's like an 8, dog. It's a blast. Jake Gyllenhaal's great. The movie's dumb as hell, but the like action sequences are fun. The fighting is fun. Nothing in this movie makes a whole lot of sense. Like if you stop and think about it at all.
No,
but like he's shooting a corpse.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the blood would have coagulated, regardless if it was on ice. Like it didn't. Now I just wanted to see Connor McGregor in Christopher Nolan films.
I know you mentioned it a couple times, but like they really don't like. He's very unhinged. Like he's like, nope, he died yesterday.
Yeah, like when he killed that guy in like the most horrific way possible, and takes the body. And I'm like, is he going to feed it to the crocodile?
I thought he was going to feed it to the gator again. Yeah.
And then like the next scene's like him in his boathouse, with like making a bomb with like the cooler at the foot of his bed with his corpse in it. I'm like, holy shit. Like what is happening?
He had a boating accident.
Like, not for nothing, if, like, the next scene had been, like, him skinning that guy and wearing him, like, a suit to infiltrate the bad guy's domain, I'd be like, you know what? at this point, who knows?
Makes sense.
So who's picked? I've picked. TJ's picked.
I picked.
Sean.
Sean, it's up to you.
Well, you got two options. One of them we're going to have to do at some point, or the other one we can do or not do. They're both terrible. So,
go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
The remake choice is Old Boy by Sir Spike Lee.
Oh, no.
The other thing is Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver by Sir Zack Snyder, which is out now. So you guys pick, because we got to do the Zack Snyder at some point.
I vote Rebel Moon.
Fine.
I mean, I also vote Rebel Moon.
Fine. Rebel Moon it is. God damn it.
I mean,
hey, it's not my fault this shit came out this week. Man. Yeah.
It was out last week, too, technically.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. This is great.
Ugh.
Gonna get more Rebel Moon.
Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver. I was kind of hoping we would wait to review this until the R-rated version came out.
We can watch it again.
No.
We can watch those 8 minutes that he's gonna add.
Oh no, he said they're like half an hour or 45 minutes longer.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Zack Snyder's like, movies, the only thing people like about movies is its length, so I'll just keep making them longer and longer.
What was the joke? Like, why doesn't he just make them right the first time?
Yeah, I do. That is a good one. All right, well, that's a show. God damn, man. Why?
What if you love it? What if the Scar Giver's like Citizen Kane in space?
There's no way, because it's funny, I've seen the discussion about this one, and people that even like the first one are like, no, this one's really bad. It's like, well, the first one was really bad. But, let's go. Maybe, you're right, guys. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe this will be the one where he redeems himself, and I'll be like, you know what?
It's like, that was a smart film.
I've judged you harshly.
Right?
I doubt it, but maybe. But, I don't know.
Shout out to Rebel Moons.
Oh, God. More wheat. Space wheat.
Shout out to Space Wheat. We gotta fill up them frigates with bales of wheat.
I mean, I still can't get over that's the fucking conceit of the fucking person.
They exterminated an entire planet of fish people. I loved it.
Oh, God. All right. Well, all right, everybody. That's the show. We'll see you next week. I'm gonna drink heavily.
Keep it 100 out there, boys.
Yeah.
Later, boys.
Like Gog said last week, eat shit and die.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night.